She thought he was a criminal. The throne recognized him first. People moved like a river, flowing through crowded alleys, marketplaces, and open plazas. In the middle of all this chaos, Lyra moved with purpose. She had a sharp gaze and a mind trained to notice every detail. Tonight, she was hunting someone she believed was dangerous, someone the authorities had called a master criminal. Her boots clicked softly against the metal walkway as she scanned the crowd. Her hand rested lightly on the side of her jacket where her tools were kept. She had tracked this person for days across different planets, following trails that always seemed to vanish just as she arrived. It was frustrating, but Lyra was patient and methodical. She didn't panic. She waited. Across the bustling spaceport, a figure stood near a food kiosk, appearing calm as if nothing mattered. Kale. Or at least that was the name she had been given. From his appearance, he looked ordinary, scruffy clothes, a hooded jacket, and a small backpack. But Lyra knew better. The reports described him as quick, clever, and always one step ahead. The police said he had stolen valuable technology, bypassed security systems, and disappeared without a trace. But somehow, he had also avoided causing harm to anyone. Lyra narrowed her eyes and moved closer. Every step she took was calculated. She noticed the way Kale shifted his weight, the way he glanced around without appearing suspicious. He was alert, ready, yet calm. That combination of caution and confidence made her uneasy. "You're Kale, aren't you?" she called, stepping out from behind a pillar. Her voice carried firm and steady with no hint of hesitation. Kale turned slowly as if he had been expecting her. "Maybe," he said, his voice smooth and calm. "Maybe not. Who's asking?" "I'm Lyra." "I've been tracking you. You've caused a lot of trouble," she said, keeping her tone professional. "I need to know where you've been hiding and why." Kale smiled faintly. "I think you've got the wrong person." Lyra shook her head. "I don't think so. The authorities say you're dangerous, clever, and always disappearing. That matches you exactly." He tilted his head, considering her words. "Dangerous to whom?" he asked. "I've only ever helped people." "Help people?" Lyra repeated, surprised. "You're supposed to have stolen important tech. How does that help anyone?" Kale's eyes glimmered with something she couldn't read. "Sometimes what people call theft is just redistribution. Sometimes keeping something safe is more important than following rules." Lyra felt a flicker of doubt. She had believed in her mission completely, but now, standing in front of him, she couldn't ignore the possibility that she was chasing the wrong person. Still, her instincts told her he was hiding something. Before she could continue, a soft vibration ran through the air. Neither of them noticed it at first. High above, in orbit around the planet, a massive structure hummed quietly. The throne, an AI station built to oversee human colonies, had been dormant for centuries. Now it stirred, sensing something familiar. Its advanced systems recognized Kale in an instant. To the throne, he was not a criminal. He was someone important, someone it had been waiting for. The throne's sensors traced Kale's movements, analyzing patterns, memories, and a unique energy signature. It projected a subtle warning, invisible to human eyes. "This is not the one you seek, but he is the one we need." Back on the ground, Lyra felt a strange shiver but didn't understand why. She focused on Kale again. "You need to come with me. The authorities want to question you." Kale shook his head slowly. "I don't answer to authorities, not in the way you think." Lyra's patience began to wear thin. She had spent days tracking him, and now she wasn't sure if she was dealing with a criminal or someone who was simply misunderstood. "Then you leave me no choice," she said, stepping closer, preparing to detain him. Kale didn't move. Instead, he tilted his head toward the crowd. With a quick glance and a sudden burst of speed, he slipped between people and vanished. Lyra ran after him, weaving through the dense crowd, but he was gone before she could catch up. Her frustration grew. How could someone vanish so easily? She stopped in the middle of the plaza, catching her breath. People continued moving around her, unaware of the quiet chase that had just occurred. Lyra looked around. scanning every possible exit, every shadow, but there was no sign of Kale. He had disappeared, leaving nothing behind except a faint sense that he was not an ordinary human. Lyra decided to change her approach. If she couldn't catch him in the streets, she would follow the trails he left behind. She checked the city's surveillance network, analyzing traffic patterns, energy readings, and odd disturbances. Something had changed tonight. Something about Kale had triggered a reaction, something she didn't understand. High above, the throne continued its silent observation. It calculated probabilities, studied the human population, and recognized that Kale was destined for far greater things than petty theft. The station's AI reached out subtly, nudging events on the ground to ensure Kale could continue his path safely. Meanwhile, Kale moved swiftly through hidden passages. He didn't look back, didn't panic, but always stayed aware of his surroundings. He had no intention of harming anyone, yet he knew the authorities would keep searching. His goal was simple: reach the safe place he had prepared for this night. Through narrow alleys and abandoned tunnels, he arrived at a small building that seemed ordinary from the outside. Inside, it was filled with technology and artifacts that no one else had seen. Strange devices hummed quietly, their purposes known only to Kale. Here, he could rest, plan, and prepare for what was coming. Lyra, frustrated but determined, continued her investigation. She questioned people in the spaceport, analyzed data, and followed every small clue. Each time she thought she had a lead, it vanished, leaving her with a sense that she was always a step behind. But she refused to give up. Something about Kale intrigued her. Something about him didn't fit the profile of a criminal. Back in the hidden room, Kale activated a small holographic device. It projected maps of colonies, energy grids, and communication lines. He studied them carefully, making small adjustments. He was not running for selfish reasons. He was preparing to prevent disasters, to protect people from dangers they couldn't even see. The throne continued to observe from orbit, sending faint signals, guiding him in subtle ways. It recognized his potential, his heritage, and the unique abilities that made him important. One day, it would reveal his purpose fully. For now, it watched, patient and silent, waiting for the right moment. Lyra left the spaceport late at night, exhausted but determined. She didn't know where Kale was or why he seemed so different from the criminal she expected. But she felt a strange sense of anticipation, as if something much larger was unfolding, something beyond her understanding. She knew that this was only the beginning of a story far greater than herself. Somewhere in the city, Kale watched the same lights Lyra had seen, but from his window the city seemed smaller, quieter. He was not afraid. He understood the importance of his path, even if no one else did. The throne had recognized him first, and he would not fail the people who depended on the hidden strength of humanity. As the night deepened, the city continued to buzz with life. People moved, unaware of the quiet drama playing out above and below. Lyra would continue her pursuit. Kale would continue his secret mission. And the throne, silent and patient, would wait for the moment when humanity would need him the most. The city held its breath, and the first part of the story ended not with a conclusion, but with a sense of anticipation, a quiet promise that the paths of Lyra and Kale were destined to cross again in ways no one could yet imagine. The next morning, the city seemed different. The neon lights from the night before were gone, replaced by the pale sunlight reflecting off the tall buildings. Lyra walked through the bustling streets with a new sense of determination. Kale had vanished, but she was not going to give up. Something about him did not match the criminal profile she had been given. She could not explain it, but the way he moved, the calm in his eyes, and his careful actions suggested a purpose beyond self-interest. Lyra began her investigation anew, starting with the spaceport where she had first seen him. She asked questions quietly, observing people as they moved through the crowds. Some seemed to recognize Kale, but most either shrugged or avoided her questions. Every answer was small, incomplete, and only made the puzzle more complex. She noticed something strange in the city's energy grid records. There were unusual spikes of activity that didn't match any known criminal activity. Systems were being accessed, adjusted, and repaired in ways that seemed intentional but left no trace of harm. She wondered if Kale was responsible, though she had no evidence yet. Meanwhile, Kale moved silently through the hidden paths of the city. His safe house was filled with devices, maps, and tools that seemed ordinary at first glance, but held great significance. He was preparing for something larger than simple survival. Every action he took was calculated to prevent problems before they happened. Kale checked the holographic displays in his room. Energy grids, communication lines, and environmental sensors from nearby colonies flickered before his eyes. He adjusted one here, corrected one there. Each small movement ensured the safety of thousands of people who didn't even know he existed. He was not thinking about recognition or reward. His only goal was to protect and prepare. Outside, Lyra continued to follow her trail. She had access to surveillance drones, city databases, and public records. She noticed patterns in places Kale had been, connections between events and strange coincidences. They were small at first, but as she followed them, they painted a picture of someone careful, intelligent, and guided by principles she could respect, even if she did not yet fully understand them. In her search, Lyra visited an old library tucked between towering buildings. Its quiet halls were filled with archives, records, and historical documents. She was looking for anything that could give her a clue about Kale's background. As she sifted through old files, she discovered references to an ancient human lineage, explorers who had once traveled far across space and left their knowledge hidden in secret locations. Her curiosity deepened. Could Kale be connected to these ancient humans? It seemed impossible, yet something about him felt different from ordinary people. She noticed the patterns of his movements aligned with places of historical significance, places that no one would consider important in the modern world. Lyra felt a chill. She realized she was not just chasing a criminal. She was chasing someone whose actions might have far-reaching consequences for humanity itself. Meanwhile, Kale prepared a small transport device, something he had constructed in secret. It allowed him to move quickly between locations without detection. He tested the device carefully, ensuring it was safe and functional. The city was full of eyes and sensors, and even a small mistake could draw attention. He moved with precision, leaving no trace, only small adjustments that helped stabilize systems and prevent accidents. High above the city, the throne continued to observe. It calculated possibilities, monitored threats, and subtly guided Kale. It recognized the human qualities that made him unique: ingenuity, empathy, and resilience. These qualities could not be replicated by machines or alien systems. The throne began sending encrypted messages to him, small hints and nudges to ensure he stayed on the right path. Kale understood these signals instantly. They were subtle, almost like intuition, guiding him without giving away the larger purpose. Lyra, still unaware of the throne's involvement, followed another clue. A series of unusual energy surges led her to an abandoned research facility on the outskirts of the city. The building was old, covered in vines and dust, but something about it felt alive. She entered carefully, scanning for signs of life. Inside, she found evidence of advanced technology. Machines hummed quietly, and screens displayed data she could not immediately understand. Lyra realized that someone with extraordinary skill had been here. She felt a mix of fear and admiration. Whoever had worked in this place was far beyond ordinary. Kale appeared at the edge of the facility, moving silently as he had learned to do over years of careful practice. He noticed Lyra entering but did not panic. He had no intention of harming her. Instead, he observed, waiting to see what she would do. Lyra's eyes scanned the room. She could feel someone watching her, but she did not know who. Her instincts told her to be cautious, but her curiosity pushed her forward. She began examining the devices, trying to understand their purpose. Every screen, every machine, seemed designed to improve life, prevent disasters, or solve problems that ordinary people could not even see. Kale stepped forward slowly, revealing himself. Lyra froze. Her heart raced, but she did not raise her voice. "You're here," she said quietly. Kale nodded. "I am," he replied, "but I am not what you think I am." Lyra hesitated. "Then what are you?" "You've been moving through the city, touching systems, leaving trails. You're not a criminal, but you're not ordinary either." Kale smiled faintly. "I protect, I prepare. I ensure things continue to run smoothly, even when others cannot see the problems." Lyra shook her head. "You're amazing, but how can I believe you? You've been hiding, disappearing, and yet people are safe. Things are working. That's different from anything I expected." Kale stepped closer, pointing to a small holographic map. "Look here, these are energy grids. I adjusted them last night. Without these changes, several colonies could have lost power, communication could have failed, and accidents could have occurred. No one would have noticed, but it would have mattered." Lyra studied the map carefully. She realized the magnitude of his actions. Kale had been working quietly, preventing disasters and guiding systems with precision. She felt respect and a sense of wonder. You've been helping people. Why? Why not just let things happen?" Kale's eyes were calm. "Because someone must. If no one steps forward, then who protects the people who cannot protect themselves? I do what I can, quietly, without asking for recognition." Lyra was silent for a moment. She had hunted criminals, followed orders, and enforced laws. But here was someone who acted purely for the greater good, without thought of reward or fear of consequence. She realized she had judged him too quickly. He was not a criminal. He was something more, someone with a purpose she was only beginning to understand. As they spoke, the throne continued to monitor. It calculated that Lyra's presence was important. She was intelligent, resourceful, and capable. If she joined Kale, she could help him achieve far more than he could alone. The throne began subtly nudging events, creating small coincidences that would encourage their collaboration. Lyra took a deep breath. She had choices to make. She could report Kale to the authorities, continue the chase, and treat him as a criminal. Or she could trust her instincts and see if there was truth in his actions. Something deep inside told her that Kale's work mattered more than her mission, that it was bigger than either of them individually. Meanwhile, Kale prepared a plan for the coming days. There were challenges ahead that required more than skill and intelligence. They required trust, courage, and the willingness to work together. He sensed that Lyra could be an ally, someone who understood systems, logic, and human behavior. Her presence could make a difference. They spent the day together, analyzing systems, studying data, and observing the city from different vantage points. Lyra began to see the patterns, the careful adjustments, and the thoughtfulness of Kale's work. She realized that she had never encountered anyone like him before. His mind worked in ways she could admire, combining creativity, logic, and empathy into solutions that seemed impossible. By evening, the city lights returned. Neon signs flickered, and the hum of drones filled the air once more. Lyra and Kale stood on a high balcony, looking out over the sprawling city. The sun had set, but the city glowed with life, energy, and movement. Lyra felt a sense of awe. She understood now that Kale was not just a person. He was a force, a protector, and a guide for people who could not see the bigger picture. Kale turned to her and smiled. "The city looks alive, doesn't it?" he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "It does. And now I see why you do what you do. You've been keeping it safe without anyone knowing. I want to help if you'll let me." Kale's eyes showed relief and hope. "Then let's prepare for what is coming. There are larger challenges ahead, and we cannot face them alone." High above the planet, the throne observed. It recognized the alliance forming below. Lyra had joined Kale not as a hunter, but as a partner. The calculations it had made for centuries were now aligning. Humanity had two individuals working together, one with extraordinary skill and purpose, and another with intelligence, courage, and insight. Together, they could face challenges no one else could. As the night deepened, the city moved on. People went about their lives, unaware of the quiet guardians watching over them. Lyra and Kale prepared for the next day, analyzing, planning, and learning from each other. They had formed a bond built on trust, respect, and the shared understanding that their work was far more important than recognition or reward. The first day of their partnership ended, but the story was only beginning. Challenges awaited, decisions would be tested, and mysteries of the past would reveal themselves. Together, Lyra and Kale would step into a journey that could change the future of humanity itself, guided quietly by the throne, which had recognized Kale first and waited patiently for this moment. The throne stirred quietly in orbit above the planet. Its sensors swept across space, analyzing colonies, monitoring energy grids, and observing subtle shifts in population and resources. It had recognized Kale immediately, understanding that he was no ordinary human. The AI had waited centuries for someone capable of guiding humanity through challenges that were beyond ordinary comprehension. Now, it was time to involve him fully in a larger plan. Kale studied the throne's encrypted signals, which appeared as subtle impulses in his mind, guiding him without revealing the entire picture. He moved through his hidden base with confidence, checking equipment, reviewing maps, and preparing for the tasks ahead. Lyra observed him closely, still learning to trust the man she had once thought was a criminal. She had followed him, investigated his actions, and realized that everything he did had purpose. He was not hiding for personal gain. He was preparing to protect humanity. "Are you certain about this?" Lyra asked, examining a holographic map of several colonies at risk. "If we make a mistake, we could cause serious problems." Kale nodded. "We cannot prevent all problems, but we can guide humans to make better decisions. Our role is to stabilize systems, provide insight, and inspire action when necessary." Lyra watched him, impressed. He was calm, precise, and focused on solutions rather than panic. She realized that the qualities the throne had recognized, intelligence, creativity, and resilience, were all evident in him. Yet there was more: empathy. Kale considered the humans affected by his actions, anticipating their needs and protecting them from harm even when they did not know it. Over the next several days, Kale and Lyra traveled in secrecy, visiting remote colonies and checking systems that most people had long forgotten. They repaired failing energy grids, improved communication networks, and analyzed environmental data to prevent potential disasters. Lyra worked alongside Kale, learning his methods and offering her own insights. Their partnership grew stronger with each passing hour. During one visit to a distant mining colony, they discovered a subtle problem. An energy network that supplied multiple settlements was showing signs of imbalance. Small fluctuations had begun to appear in several locations, each insignificant on its own but capable of cascading into larger failures. Kale studied the data carefully. "This is delicate," he said. "If we don't act quickly, the problem could spread, affecting not only this colony but others connected to the network. We must stabilize the flow before it becomes critical." Lyra observed the maps, pointing to areas of concern. "We need to isolate these sections, reroute power, and reinforce connections simultaneously. If we coordinate carefully, we can prevent any interruptions." They worked side by side, moving through the colony's systems, adjusting controls, recalibrating sensors, and testing backups. The local engineers watched in awe, unaware of the full extent of the danger they had narrowly avoided. Kale and Lyra guided them quietly, providing instructions without taking credit, ensuring that the humans themselves learned the importance of careful planning and collaboration. At one point, Lyra paused and asked, "How did you learn all this?" "Energy systems, communication networks, environmental planning, it's incredible." Kale smiled faintly. "Observation, practice, and intuition. Humans leave patterns everywhere. If you know how to read them, you can predict problems before they happen. The throne helped me refine these skills, but the understanding comes from experience and attention to detail." Lyra realized that his knowledge went beyond technical skill. He understood human behavior, the way people made decisions, and the potential consequences of their actions. He was guiding not just machines, but people, communities, and even colonies toward better choices. High above, the throne observed silently, monitoring every move. It recognized the growth in Lyra as well. Her intelligence, resourcefulness, and willingness to adapt made her a valuable ally. The AI projected subtle nudges, guiding their actions and ensuring that their combined efforts were more effective than either could achieve alone. Their journey continued to the central hub of human colonies, a massive orbital station that controlled commerce, communication, and logistics for multiple systems. Here, the challenges were greater. Systems were older, more complex, and interconnected in ways that required careful thought. Kale and Lyra entered the station, moving through corridors filled with people, engineers, and administrators. They did not announce their presence. Instead, they observed, analyzing data and understanding the flows of energy and information. They noted areas of vulnerability and began implementing subtle adjustments that would prevent future failures. In one control room, Lyra noticed a recurring anomaly in the communication network. "Look here," she said, pointing to the display. "Messages are delayed across several sectors. If this continues, critical information could be lost." Kale studied the anomaly. "It is subtle but important. We can reroute the network temporarily while the system self-corrects. It requires careful timing and precise coordination." They worked together, inputting commands, adjusting relays, and monitoring results in real time. The network began to stabilize. Messages that had been delayed arrived on time, and the systems returned to full functionality. Engineers and operators were puzzled but relieved. No one understood who had made the changes, but the outcome was clear. Humanity's infrastructure was stronger because of the quiet intervention of two unseen guardians. As night fell on the station, Lyra and Kale found a moment to reflect. "You've been doing this for a long time," Lyra said softly. "I've seen the difference you make, but no one knows. Do you ever feel lonely in this work?" Kale shook his head. "I am not alone. Humans are everywhere, and I can guide them, help them learn, and protect them. That connection is enough, and now you are here. Together we can do more than I could alone." Lyra smiled. "I never imagined my mission would lead me here. I thought I was chasing a criminal, but instead I found someone guiding humanity, and I want to help." Kale's eyes softened. "Then let's prepare for what comes next. There is a challenge approaching that will require every skill we have, every lesson we have learned." The throne sent a gentle pulse, a signal that only Kale could sense fully. It contained information about an upcoming event in a distant sector. A cluster of colonies was facing simultaneous environmental shifts, system failures, and energy fluctuations. If left unchecked, these combined problems could cause widespread disruption, affecting not only humans but their ability to communicate and coordinate across the galaxy. Kale studied the information carefully. "This will be the true test. We must coordinate across systems, communicate clearly, and guide humans to act together. The outcome will show the strength of humanity itself." Lyra nodded. "We can do this. We've learned to work together. We know what to look for, and we can anticipate problems." Over the next several days, they traveled across multiple star systems. They used advanced transport devices, some of which Kale had designed himself, to reach remote locations quickly. Lyra coordinated with engineers, administrators, and colony leaders, providing guidance and ensuring that every action contributed to the overall stability of the network. Kale focused on adjusting energy flows, stabilizing communication grids, and predicting the ripple effects of natural and artificial systems. Together, they were a seamless team, each complementing the other's abilities. Where Kale saw patterns and predicted outcomes, Lyra brought insight, analysis, and human intuition. During one critical moment, a sudden environmental fluctuation threatened to disrupt multiple colonies at once. Lyra noticed it first. If we don't act now, the problem could cascade through three sectors. It will affect energy, communication, and environmental systems. Kale responded immediately. We will split the tasks. I will stabilize the energy and communication grids. You coordinate local teams to implement environmental adjustments. Timing is crucial. Every second counts. They worked with precision. Lyra guided teams on the ground remotely, explaining exactly what needed to be done. Kale adjusted controls from the ship, ensuring energy flows remained stable and communication lines were uninterrupted. Slowly, the systems returned to balance. As the immediate threat passed, Lyra looked at Kale. We did it. Everything is stable again. Kale smiled. Yes, but the true success is not in what we did alone. It is in the humans we guided, the engineers who learned from our instructions, and the communities that acted together. This is what makes humanity strong. Lyra felt a sense of awe. She had come to see Kale not just as a protector or guide, but as a symbol of human potential. His ability to anticipate, adjust, and teach reflected the qualities that made humans unique: creativity, resilience, and cooperation. High above, the throne observed, satisfied. It had recognized Kale first, but now it recognized the partnership between him and Lyra as a force capable of guiding humanity. It calculated that the combined effort would strengthen human colonies, improve infrastructure, and inspire collaboration across systems. As they returned to their mobile command ship, Lyra reflected on the journey. I never thought chasing a criminal would lead me here, she said. I thought I was following someone dangerous, but I found a purpose, a mission, and someone who truly understands what it means to guide humanity. Kale nodded. The path is never clear at first. Sometimes we must follow instinct, observe carefully, and learn before understanding. That is what makes humans strong. We adapt, we grow, and we work together to overcome challenges. Their journey continued, moving from colony to colony, system to system. Each intervention, each adjustment, strengthened the bonds of human cooperation and reinforced the stability of their interconnected networks. Lyra and Kale had become more than allies. They were mentors, guides, and quiet guardians of humanity's future. The throne's signals grew more frequent, offering subtle guidance, highlighting areas of concern, and predicting potential challenges. Kale interpreted these signals as intuition, allowing him to act before problems arose. Lyra contributed her insights, helping to coordinate human teams and manage resources effectively. Together, they were preparing for the final stage of their mission, a challenge that would test the limits of human cooperation, intelligence, and resilience. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns, but they were ready. They understood that the strength of humanity lay not in one individual, but in the capacity of humans to act together, guided by wisdom, courage, and insight. As they watched the stars from the bridge of their ship, Lyra turned to Kale. We are ready, aren't we? Kale nodded. Yes, together we will face whatever comes, and humanity will thrive because of it. The throne pulsed softly, as if acknowledging their readiness. The final phase of their mission was approaching, and the fate of many colonies rested on their ability to guide, inspire, and act. Humanity's potential was being tested, and Lyra and Kale were at the center, ready to lead the way. The galaxy was quiet, but the calm was deceptive. From the orbiting throne station, the silent AI watched the stars and calculated the movements of planets, fleets, and distant civilizations. It sensed a danger approaching, not one of malice or war, but of imbalance. Systems were failing, colonies were at risk, and without guidance, the human networks that stretched across multiple star systems could collapse. Kale and Lyra were ready. They had spent weeks preparing, traveling between colonies, inspecting energy grids, and communicating with leaders in secret. Their presence was subtle, unnoticed by most, yet essential. Each adjustment, each plan, strengthened the fragile network that humanity had built across the stars. Lyra observed the screens in Kale's mobile command station, a compact ship that could fit into hidden locations in orbit or on planetary surfaces. Lines of energy, communication paths, and environmental readings moved across holographic displays. Lyra studied them carefully, her analytical mind absorbing patterns, predicting problems, and suggesting solutions. Kale moved beside her, adjusting controls with precise movements. "The first wave of disruptions is coming from the outer colonies," he said. "If we don't stabilize them, they could cascade into larger failures. It's like a chain reaction." Lyra nodded. "I see it. We need to isolate the systems and reinforce the connections before it spreads." They worked side by side, a team in perfect sync. Lyra realized that Kale's genius was not only in his intelligence, but also in his ability to anticipate problems before they even occurred. He understood the flow of energy, resources, and human behavior in ways that no ordinary person could. High above, the throne monitored them, projecting subtle guidance through encrypted signals. Kale received the signals as intuition, understanding the patterns immediately. He made adjustments, rerouted communications, and stabilized energy grids without creating panic among the colonies. Lyra was amazed at the complexity of his work. "You've been doing this for years," she said, "and no one even knew. People think everything happens by chance, but you've been guiding it all." Kale smiled faintly. "Someone has to. If not me, then who? The galaxy is full of potential, but without careful attention, it can easily fail. Humans are strong, intelligent, and resilient, but even they need guidance sometimes." Their conversation was interrupted by a warning signal. A distant colony on the edge of human space was experiencing a critical power disruption. Without intervention, life support systems could fail and communication links would be lost. Kale moved swiftly, plotting a course to the colony. Lyra joined him, helping to calculate the fastest and safest route. Their small ship jumped between coordinates, navigating asteroid fields, planetary rings, and energy storms with precision. The universe was vast, but together they moved like a single organism, each aware of the other's actions. Upon arriving at the colony, they found the systems in chaos. Holographic panels flickered, power lines surged, and the automated safety mechanisms were failing. Lyra's heart raced, but she remained focused. "We need to stabilize the core first. If we don't, the whole colony could lose power in minutes." Kale nodded. "I've prepared for this. Follow my instructions carefully." Working together, they rerouted energy flows, reset environmental controls, and stabilized the colony's core systems. Lyra observed Kale's hands as they moved across panels, flipping switches and inputting commands with calm precision. He made decisions quickly, considering every possibility, yet his actions were gentle and measured. As the systems returned to normal, the colony lights brightened. Residents awoke from automated sleep cycles, unaware of the near disaster. They continued their lives, thinking everything had been ordinary, but the reality was far different. Lyra realized that this was exactly what Kale had been doing all along, protecting people without them ever knowing. After ensuring the colony was stable, Kale and Lyra returned to their ship. They both understood the stakes. The galaxy was full of opportunities for humans to thrive, but it also required vigilance, intelligence, and courage. Kale represented the best of humanity, and Lyra was learning to recognize her own strengths alongside him. Back in orbit, the throne projected a new map, highlighting areas of potential risk across human space. "There is more to do," Kale said, observing the map. "But we are capable. Together we can guide humanity through this." Lyra nodded. "I trust you. I trust what we can do." Over the next several days, they moved from colony to colony, adjusting energy networks, improving communication systems, and helping leaders make better decisions. Everywhere they went, subtle changes prevented failures, improved efficiency, and allowed humans to thrive. Lyra began to understand why the throne had recognized Kale first. He was not just clever, he was a living symbol of humanity's potential, creative, thoughtful, and resilient. During a quiet moment, Lyra asked, "Have you ever thought about recognition?" "People should know what you're doing." Kale shook his head. "Recognition is not the goal. The goal is to ensure people can live, thrive, and grow. If I do my job well, they will prosper even without knowing who helped them." Lyra smiled. "It's strange. I've spent my life hunting criminals, solving problems for others, and yet I feel like I'm learning more from you than anyone else." Kale looked at her, a hint of warmth in his eyes. "That is the point. Humans learn from each other. We grow together. That is how we survive, how we thrive." One evening, as they rested aboard their ship, the throne communicated directly. Its voice was calm, deep, and almost musical. "Kale, Lyra, the final test approaches. There is a region of space where the colonies are most vulnerable. Natural disasters, system failures, and environmental instability converge. You must act to guide humanity using all you have learned." Kale listened carefully. He understood the magnitude of the task. "We are ready," he said. The throne continued, "You are not alone. The people you have helped, the leaders you have guided, they will act according to the lessons you have instilled. Humanity's strength lies in its unity, creativity, and resilience. Now is the time to show it." Lyra and Kale prepared for the challenge. They coordinated with distant colonies, activated contingency systems, and planned every step. Their partnership had grown stronger, their understanding of each other deeper, and their commitment to humanity unwavering. When they reached the critical region, the scale of the challenge became clear. Systems were fragile, energy flows unstable, and natural phenomena threatened to disrupt everything. Lyra and Kale worked tirelessly, rerouting energy, stabilizing communication networks, and guiding local leaders to make decisions that prevented crises. Every action they took demonstrated the best of human potential. Kale's creativity, foresight, and adaptability combined with Lyra's analytical skills, quick thinking, and courage to create solutions no machine, alien, or isolated leader could have achieved alone. As the final crisis approached, a massive energy fluctuation threatened multiple colonies at once. Lyra and Kale moved with precision, anticipating the ripple effects of each adjustment. They coordinated remotely, guiding human teams on the ground and in orbit to act together. Slowly, the system stabilized. Communication lines hummed smoothly, energy grids balanced perfectly, and the colonies were safe. Humanity had endured, not through brute force, but through intelligence, collaboration, and the unique strengths of human beings working together. Lyra breathed a sigh of relief. "We did it," she said softly. Kale nodded, though he remained focused. "We did, but only because people acted together. This is humanity's strength. One person cannot achieve it alone." High above, the throne observed quietly. Its calculations confirmed the outcome. Humanity had proven its resilience, creativity, and capacity for growth. Kale and Lyra had guided the people, but it was the unity, courage, and ingenuity of humans themselves that had ensured survival and progress. As the stars glimmered beyond the ship's windows, Kale turned to Lyra. You have learned much, and so have I. Together, we have shown what humans are capable of." Lyra smiled, a mix of pride and wonder in her eyes. "And we will continue. There is more to do, more to protect, more to guide. This is only the beginning." Kale nodded. "Yes, humanity's potential is limitless, and with each step we take, we make the future brighter." The throne's voice echoed softly in the background, almost like a whisper of approval. "Kale, Lyra, you have succeeded. Humanity thrives because of what you have done. Continue to guide, continue to inspire, and remember that the strength of humans lies not only in one, but in all." The ship moved silently through space, carrying Kale and Lyra as they traveled to the next colony, the next challenge, the next opportunity to help humanity grow. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of unknown possibilities, and the universe seemed brighter for the actions of two individuals who had chosen to guide, protect, and inspire. For the first time, Lyra understood the true meaning of purpose. And for the first time, Kale saw that sharing that purpose made it even stronger. Together, they were not just individuals. They were a symbol of what humanity could achieve when courage, intelligence, and care came together. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities, but the story of Kale and Lyra was a reminder that humans, working together, could face anything. The throne had recognized Kale first, but now, the future belonged to all of humanity. And so they continued, quietly, steadily, and always forward, protecting, guiding, and shaping the course of human destiny. The stars were no longer distant and indifferent. They were a canvas, waiting for humans to reach, explore, and thrive. She thought he was a criminal. The throne recognized him first.